Kamal Hubbard is a civil rights officer who spent several years managing research at Stanford University's Rock Center for Corporate Governance. While there, he worked with the former Securities and Exchange Commissioner examining federal securities, litigation, and global corruption cases. Kamal is certified in fraud examination, cybersecurity, and decentralized finance. Mr. Hubbard had the privilege of testifying before California's Senate Banking Committee and served as part of the Blockchain Advocacy Coalition. Kamal also participated in discussions with the U.S. Department of the Treasury's Office of the Comptroller of the Currency on matters related to the intersection of cryptocurrencies and banking. He is also the author of a book, DeFi for the Diaspora, which he recently released a second edition.
All right, without further ado, here we are, Mr. Kamal Hubbard. Let's give him some love in the chat. Clap it up for him. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, everybody. I don't know why I'm echoing. Okay, not echoing anymore. So thank you. Thank you, Kenzie, for the introduction. I do want to say that I do have a hard stop at the top of the hour. So there's a lot of information. I want to stick around as long as possible to answer questions and really just get started here. Thank you again, everybody, for your patience. It is not easy to put together a platform, let alone, putting together a platform for somebody else. And the Junior Wall Streeters have done that for me today. So I appreciate that. I appreciate them. I appreciate them for introducing me and inviting me again for the third time to speak with them. I like the partnership that I've had with them over the years and the ability to work with them. The introduction, this talk is the introduction to cryptocurrency and can investing in cryptocurrency and other digital platforms help to address the racial wealth gap. I hope by the time I'm done speaking, you guys will agree with me in the affirmative on that. So, my next slide here. Thanks once again to the Junior Wall Streeters for having me, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We did run into a few technical hiccups here, but thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for being patient on a Saturday, your weekend, to join. This is valuable information, and you guys are giving me your valuable time, and I want to give you this valuable information in the way that I can present it best. Kenzie did a great job of introducing me, so I'm not going to introduce myself once again on any of this. And Kevon gave a really good breakdown and personal story about the racial wealth gap. I don't really think that I really need to spend too much time on this. I think we're all beginning to see this, especially as things are getting, we're seeing more inflation. Now we're facing a trade war. And, some of these studies that show the pervasive discrimination over the years, one in particular by Citigroup, that says racially discriminatory practices have cost the U.S. over $16 trillion in the last 20-year period. That study came out in 2020. So no telling how things have changed since then. But this study is a good indicator. So this is a measure of venture capital funding in Black startups, right? So you can see in 2020 that it was very low, and it raised in 2021 post George Floyd, and the focus on supporting Black businesses and other minorities as well. But when we're talking about Black businesses in particular, it wasn't but a year later in 2022 where we started to see this drop off. So if anything, that increase in 2021 and through 2022 may have been a little performative. So, and 2022 behind the scenes may have actually started this end of DEI. We're going to keep going here. So, like I said, Kevon gave a really good personal story of him facing redlining, him and his wife facing redlining by the traditional financial system. There is no shortage of personal stories as well as quantitative and anecdotal evidence that there's been unequal banking practices, such as redlining and the access to capital that I showed you in the last two figures here. Here is a figure as well that kind of goes to the maybe about 2 generations before my generation in terms of how the racial wealth gap really began to widen. And you can see people really in their 70s and 80s, you know, there's almost a 10 times difference in the amount of net wealth that white families have versus black families. So very stark contrast between the two. And, you know, this also goes into another figure that Yvonne shared earlier regarding really, this is a little bit closer to my generation. In 1989 through 98, for every white dollar that the median white family had, and these are also college graduate families. So talking about college graduate, white families, black families, and Hispanic families. So for every dollar in wealth that a white median white family had, black families only had 31%. And then going out about 15 years to 2010 to 2016, that was cut in half. So for every white dollar or every dollar in wealth that a white family had, a median black family had 17 cents. So black families had lost essentially half their wealth. And I attribute that to the subprime mortgage crisis. That just seems like, to me, the best indicator, because the subprime mortgage crisis occurred between 2008 and 2010. It bubbled up into a global credit crisis, but really, we were targeted throughout all that. It doesn't take too much research to find that out, but you know, black families and Hispanic families as well were targeted by the subprime mortgage crisis. And just to keep it going here, this is another figure showing just racial inequality among families. So, you know, for every white family, average white family that had, you know, $161,000 in wealth before 2000, but really before the subprime mortgage crisis, a black family had 10,400. And you could see this forecast. Obviously, white families also took a hit during the subprime mortgage crisis, but now we're looking at 2024. Everybody's getting squeezed for sure, but there's still a big difference between what an average black family has and what an average white family has. So now the net worth of an average black family is just around $1,000, where average white family has $122,000. And really, when this forecast goes out for another 10 years, the black community in America is essentially going to be destitute. So it's sad, but there are some ways to address this and mitigate this. Now, on top of the racial wealth gap, we're also facing what's called a digital divide. So the digital divide is the difference between people who have access to reliable high-speed internet, and people with higher incomes tend to have greater access to fiber, internet, and other high-quality sources of information and computer technologies. So you're putting the digital divide on top of the racial wealth gap. That makes things, once again, very difficult for us moving forward. And now, just to put a cherry on top of that, throughout the pandemic, we saw money becoming more and more digital. So we're really looking at a time where digital platforms such as Cash App, Robinhood, PayPal, and digital payment processors really started to see a lot of growth during the pandemic. I remember going to the grocery store and they said that they would not accept cash because they couldn't make change, right? So, you know, at a point of sale, they're encouraging you to use cash. And a lot of people are also using things like Apple Pay on their phone or Samsung Pay. So we're moving away from digital currencies and now moving to an age of cryptocurrencies. So moving to the here and now, what we're seeing a few weeks ago, the United States announced that they will be undertaking a strategic Bitcoin and digital asset reserve. And so far, the United States is very close to getting 1% supply of the overall supply of Bitcoin. They're only going to continue to accumulate more. So right behind the United States is China. I don't see Russia on this because you don't know how much Bitcoin Russia actually has. Strong possibility Russia has more Bitcoin than the United States and China. There's a lot that goes into that, but regardless, what this figure is meant to show is that now, when it comes to the accumulation of Bitcoin, we have whole nation states that are creating like essentially a new Fort Knox for digital assets. And if countries are accumulating Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, I think that should be a good indicator that many of us should start doing that if you have not already. And on top of that, to show that this is in fact a trend, recent financial analysts predicted that Bitcoin is going to be on 25% of the S&P 500 firms' balance sheets by 2030. So in 5 years, 125 corporations out of that S&P 500 that are listed on our stock exchanges are going to have Bitcoin on their balance sheets. They're going to be accumulating Bitcoin as well. So we have nation states, S&P 500 firms hopping on the bandwagon of buying and holding Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. You guys may be asking, well, why is that? Obviously, the tariffs are a major part in that. We're in a trade war now, and countries are going to continue to have their central banks, but in this trade war, there's going to be significant inflationary pressures that are going to devalue those currencies. However, as Kevon stated earlier, Bitcoin did not take much of a hit in all this. So you have many cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin in particular. It's not an inflationary currency. It has a fixed supply of 21 million. And once those 21 million Bitcoin are introduced into the supply, it's really, in a way, it does become deflationary. That's a separate matter. I don't want to get into it, but the supply is fixed. There's never going to be new Bitcoin that are going to be created after that 21 million. So what the strategy is of these corporations and nation states, and really El Salvador in particular, they adopted Bitcoin 2 years ago. Bitcoin has exceeded the S&P 500 and surpassed the S&P 500 for several years now. So the strategy is some of these nation states, if they accumulate enough Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies that continue to outperform the market, they'll be able to pay off their state debts, essentially. El Salvador wants to use this Bitcoin to pay off their debts to the IMF. And, Trump and other people behind the scenes have said that they want to basically use Bitcoin to pay off the national debt. very lofty, very ambitious. I can't necessarily say I agree with that, but that's a perspective. That's a strategy. So, what I also want you guys to know is before this is over, I'm going to give you a 5-step plan to begin onboarding and accumulating crypto. So it's not just me talking and saying all these theories and showing you news sources. I'm going to give you a 5-step plan to get you started essentially today, Monday, to get exposure into cryptocurrencies and other digital assets. But, before I say anything else, I do want to say that this presentation is for informational purposes only. It's not financial advice, legal advice, tax advice, or any sort of advice. So I'm really just trying to expose you to information that you can't get elsewhere and hopefully streamline some of that information, because go on YouTube, type in crypto, start scrolling. You'll be doing that really till tomorrow, essentially. So it's about quality of the information, right? So hopefully this action plan can help you. If not, reach out to me. I can create another plan for you that can get you guys started here. So stick around. Looking forward to getting into that 5-step plan after I go through a little bit of background, starting with blockchain 101. So you may have heard what blockchain is from several different sources, but it is the underlying technology that powers Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. It's open and permissionless, meaning anyone, anywhere across the world can access it. Such a level of openness has the potential to solve the problem of inequality that is inherent in the traditional financial system, because all a person needs to access blockchain technology is an internet connection. Second, the records that are kept on the blockchain are distributed and scattered across many devices and locations. There is no central server or body of authority that has exclusive power over the entire system. It's many people, many devices that contribute. So you may be asking, how does this all work? Well, one way of trying to understand blockchain better is if you think about it as a type of database. Databases are used to store or are used as software to store, process, and query information. Blockchains are publicly managed and verified records of transactional data. All the data blocks are ordered chronologically and connected to form a chain, hence the term blockchain. And all of the chain's old blocks of data are permanent. They cannot be modified or altered after the fact. So an important concept within all of this, you're talking about distributed computers. They all have to come to an agreement when it comes to verifying a single transaction. That process is called consensus. So you have what's called nodes that are the electronic devices connected to the distributed network throughout many locations. Those nodes are responsible for maintaining and verifying the transactional records on a blockchain. Blockchain is only able to do this and be updated through other consensus measures. That is, participants in the chain system must agree on any additions and changes to the chain itself. The process of consensus varies from one blockchain to another. Consensus, once again, is important because it is integral in the process of validating transactions to keep the ecosystem fair and prevent things like double spends, right? Like, I can't take my one Bitcoin, give it to Kavan, and then give it also to Michelle and say, okay, hey, I'm using that same Bitcoin to both pay you guys one Bitcoin. That's what essentially a double spend is. That's how consensus works to verify for one Bitcoin that I send out, one Bitcoin is also deducted from my account, also known as a wallet. Now, this infographic shows all of the industries that can benefit from blockchain technology. So blockchain can be used in real estate, travel, wills and estates, charities, banking, cybersecurity, so on and so forth. These may even be industries that you are a part of right now. And so years ago, what I wanted a lot of people to know is even if you're in one of these fields that has not adopted blockchain yet, do everything that you can to educate yourself on it so that you can be the subject matter expert in your company, in your firm. So when it does come time for your company to adopt blockchain, you are in the best position, one, to have a job, keep your job, and possibly get advanced through a promotion in your job because you have this education and expertise. So now that we have countries and corporations accumulating digital assets and cryptocurrencies, the next step for them in this enterprise evolution will be to actually adopt blockchain technologies to enhance their auditing capability as well as other functions to make work more efficient. So, you know, and this is a very powerful infographic to keep in mind. So now moving away from blockchain, and now we're going to go to cryptocurrency. I know I'm moving fast, but I want to try and give you guys a big picture of everything. Cryptocurrencies are borderless, cryptographically secured, decentralized digital assets that leverage blockchain technology. Cryptocurrencies facilitate peer-to-peer transactional exchanges, enabling direct financial transactions with reduced fees and increased transparency compared to traditional currencies. And according to CoinGecko, there are over 17,000 cryptocurrencies in circulation. So I think what's important to know is the peer-to-peer aspect of cryptocurrencies. And if anyone has read the Bitcoin white paper, it talks about using peer-to-peer transactions. So the Bitcoin white paper originated, in my estimation, after the subprime mortgage crisis, where central banks and other banks were using their centralized authority to abuse the global financial system. And so the alternative in Bitcoin was, hey, people should be able to do their transactions without the need for a bank or other third-party intermediary. And that is really the heart and the ethos of cryptocurrencies, for people like us to be able to transact and be our own banks without having to worry about credit scores, without having to worry about racially discriminatory practices, without having to worry about banking hours, 9 to 5, and all sorts of other things. So if we can get to that, that's how we can address the racial wealth gap. So that's just one part and one aspect of that. I'm going to keep going because I don't want to get too much off into a tangent on that. But people may ask, well, where does the crypto and cryptocurrencies come from? I mentioned earlier, these are cryptographically secured digital assets. And cryptography is utilized in blockchain technology to create a secure, trustworthy digital environment. Cryptography uses public and private keys to allow secure communication and verification of information. The process involves creating a unique digital fingerprint called a hash and allowing tamper-proof verification of that electronic data through the nodes in consensus. So I know this is a lot, but I'm really just trying to touch everything at a high level once again. Now, let's start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is regarded as the first cryptocurrency introduced in 2008 by an anonymous entity known as Satoshi Nakamoto through a white paper entitled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Now, there's a lot in that white paper. I'd encourage you guys to read it if you get a chance, even if you read the abstract, right? The first paragraph on the first page, read that. It won't take you long, but that is the heart of cryptocurrencies and really why we need them. So getting back to Bitcoin once again, unlike traditional traditional currencies issued by central banks, Bitcoin operates without a central authority, relying instead on a consensus mechanism known as proof of work. This mechanism involves miners who use computational power to solve complex mathematical problems, thereby validating transactions and adding new blocks to the blockchain. All right. Keeping it moving here. Bitcoin that's the same slide as the last one. Sorry about that, guys. I'm going to take a quick drink here. Excuse me for that. Now we're going to move on to Ethereum. And this is the #2 cryptocurrency by market capitalization, cryptocurrency market capitalization. And the Ethereum blockchain is a decentralized platform that enables developers to build and deploy smart contracts and decentralized applications, also known as dApps. Unlike Bitcoin, which primarily focuses on peer-to-peer transactions, Ethereum extends the functionality of blockchain technology by incorporating a programmable layer that allows for the execution of complex computational tasks. The native cryptocurrency of the Ethereum network is called Ether, which is used to pay transactional fees and computational services on the platform. Ether serves as a store of value and medium of exchange within the Ethereum ecosystem. Digging a little bit deeper into Ethereum, smart contracts are self-executing directives with the terms of an agreement directly written into the code. They automatically enforce and execute the terms of a contract when certain conditions are met, reducing the need for intermediaries and minimizing the risk of errors or fraud. Decentralized applications, dApps, are applications that run on the blockchain and operate without central control. dApps can provide a wide range of services from financial tools and gaming to supply chain management, social networks, and all benefiting from the security and transparency of blockchain technology. Ethereum operates under a proof of stake consensus network where validators are selected to create new blocks and validate transactions based on the amount of cryptocurrency they stake as collateral, replacing the energy-intensive mining process of proof of work. Ethereum has become a vibrant ecosystem of blockchain projects, including ERC20 tokens, decentralized finance, which I'll get into a little bit later, and non-fungible tokens, also known as NFTs. So doing a side-by-side comparison of Bitcoin and Ethereum, the main things of where they converge are their peer-to-peer, or they facilitate peer-to-peer transactions. They're both decentralized and they're both cryptographically secured. Now, where they diverge and are different, I'll let you guys take a look at that. I think I've mentioned most of those things, but feel free to take another quick look here. Now, just some general crypto terms for you guys to understand. You'll hear these just throughout. When you get in, take your deeper dive into crypto, you'll see a lot of these, right? So FOMO, right? We're at a place now where it's not just basement dwellers getting crypto, right? We have Wall Street FOMO and nation state FOMO, right? And so there's no telling now how high certain cryptocurrencies and their price will actually be in the future. Because once again, now we have buy pressure from nation states that are buying billions at a time, corporations that are buying millions of Bitcoin at a time. And so the FOMO has truly begun. Another term you may hear is called FUD, which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's when anybody introduces any sort of negativity into crypto or any sort of crypto project. Where there's FOMO, there's always FUD. So don't worry about that. You have to develop your own strategy and reevaluate your strategy from time to time as well. So I can go into other ones of these, but I'm not, because I don't want to get too bogged down by any particular terminology. So next, it's important to understand the difference between centralized and decentralized. People throw out the word decentralized a lot, and it still does not have a working definition under law of what is actually decentralized. That hasn't been defined, and it's arguable, right? Well, something can be decentralized because you're using distributed computing and distributed ledgers. Some people will say that's decentralized, but what if that decentralized ledger is being controlled by a corporation where a CEO and a board are making decisions on how that distributed ledger or blockchain actually operates, right? Don't want to get too far in the weeds with that, but it's important to understand the difference between a centralized exchange and a decentralized exchange. So what is an exchange? That's a perfect question. Examples of exchanges are the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ Stock Exchange. When it comes to crypto exchanges, Binance, Coinbase, KuCoin, a number of other cryptocurrency exchanges. And now we're starting to see Cash App and Robinhood and other digital platforms that allow you to buy and sell cryptocurrencies. However, those are still centralized because you go to the exchange, and even though you have a wallet there, they're still considered a centralized intermediary, right? Because they can say, you can deposit your funds here, but they have an ultimate say on how you can withdraw. So yes, exchanges are places where you buy and sell securities. It's also where you buy and sell cryptocurrencies. But decentralized exchanges operate in a peer-to-peer manner. KYC, which is Know Your Customer. At centralized exchanges, KYC is imposed, where you're going to put in information about who you are and maybe provide an identification document like a driver's license or passport. With DEXs, you don't need to use KYC. I know at one point Congress wanted to change that, but with the new administration, I have not heard anything about that. And security-wise, centralized exchanges are more fragile to attacks because they are targets, right? Everybody's going to an exchange and coming with funds to buy and sell. So it just becomes essentially like a honeypot, right? That's where a lot of funds are. So centralized exchanges are going to be susceptible to those attacks. However, security on DEXs are backed by blockchain, using a lot of those same security methods. Not to say that they're fully secure, but using blockchain basically can make it difficult for people who want to try and steal funds from a DEX to get away with it, because everything, once again, is on this ledger. From a convenience standpoint, centralized exchanges tend to be more user-friendly than decentralized exchanges. And private keys. So your private keys are essentially your secret code. This is going back to the cryptography aspect of cryptocurrencies. You have what's called a public key, which is your wallet address. And that is the key that you share with other people to say, hey, I need to receive funds from you. Here's my wallet address, or essentially like your account, and you share it with other people when you want them to send you funds. Or you share it with people once again, to let them know how to pay you. In private keys on a centralized exchange, or at least let me go back to private keys. Private keys are the secret code that allows you to unlock that account. Once again, in this centralized environment, even though you go to an exchange and they give you a wallet, the centralized exchange owns your keys. Whereas on decentralized exchanges, the users get to keep their keys and use their own wallet. And typically in centralized exchanges, the tokens and assets that are available tend to be limited, whereas on DEXs, you tend to get more selection. Now, this also, going back to the idea of crypto wallets, there's what's called custodial wallets and non-custodial wallets. And now just thinking of the concept of custody, right? Who has custody of your coins? When you go to an exchange, the exchange owns your private keys of the wallet they provide to you, and they host or hold your coins until you're done buying and selling, and then you can withdraw to your wallet, which is a non-custodial wallet. So you're not allowing anybody else other than yourself to custody your coins or your assets. That's why it's non-custodial. So just looking at this infographic once again, custodial wallets have control over private keys. Example, a Coinbase wallet or a Binance wallet on the exchange, they own those keys. Whereas a non-custodial wallet gives users 100% control of their private keys. Some examples of these are MetaMask, Ledger, Trust Wallet. You may have heard of some of these wallets. I don't endorse one over another necessarily, but you're at some point, if you want to do this and really talk about this five-point plan that I'm going to give you guys. The overall goal, especially if we want to address the racial wealth gap, is moving from a custodial environment to a non-custodial environment. It's not an overnight thing. So bear with me, I'll get into that. But if we are going to leverage this technology to protect wealth in the future of digital finance, we have to be able to be as much in a non-custodial environment as possible. All right, so a little bit earlier, I talked about DeFi, decentralized finance. It is a trustless peer-to-peer system that eliminates the need for third-party financial intermediaries. DeFi is a growing subsector of blockchain technology that provides users with open access to financial products such as loans and interest-bearing accounts. So essentially, all of the financial services that the traditional financial system currently has and offers, there is a decentralized financial version of those products. And I'll get into that a little bit later as well. So all the things you can do at a bank now, you can do in a non-custodial manner, right? 24/7. So the cryptocurrency markets are open 24 hours a day, and the market never sleeps. So using these sort of financial services, something happens on Saturday at 5 p.m. and you need to access your funds, and it's something that's sophisticated where you would need to call into your bank to do that. Now with DeFi, you don't have to call anyone. You just go to your device and you access those assets. And so some of the types of decentralized financial protocols that exist are decentralized exchanges, which I mentioned earlier. So those are exchanges that you can go to buy and sell digital assets. Decentralized money markets, which is just that, money markets for people to lend and borrow and save decentralized stablecoins, which allow for hedging against volatility in the markets, decentralized insurance, decentralized options and derivatives, and more. So I'm going to get into a few of these. As I mentioned, decentralized money markets are places where people who need a loan can go, or people who want to lend their money, they can also go as well. And you don't have to worry about your FICO credit score to get access to these loans. And this opens up the door to community lending without really having to have any sort of bank charter or anything like that. It's important to see where the regulatory framework goes in the next few years, but these are things that you can do now. Kevon talked about having an investment club. I don't want to get too much into what I'm doing necessarily, but I'm looking into community financing where we can leverage these sort of decentralized financial protocols to provide lending where banks can't and won't, right? Stablecoins, as I mentioned earlier, are decentralized assets that allow participants to hedge against volatility. So usually most decentralized stablecoins are they're pegged to a static amount, like the US dollar, the euro, the price of gold, the price of oil, and other commodities. And they do that due to fluctuations in the crypto market that affect the price of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptocurrencies. If you, let's just say, got a 10% increase and you want to basically realize that gain, but still keep your funds on the blockchain, you essentially use stable coins to help you do that. Decentralized insurance. Now, this is very interesting because many of us may have insurance policies. And I, for one, live in California. We're starting to see a lot of insurance companies leave California because, hey, we can't protect you in the next fire. We can't protect you in the next earthquake. We can't protect you, right? You've been paying premiums for years now, but we can't protect you. So what would happen if a community of attorneys like Yvonne got together and said, hey, let's just have our own malpractice insurance, right? Or have our own law firm life insurance plan. We're not going to give it to a life insurance company that is going to put all these restrictions. We make the rules of a claim and how a claim gets paid out. And we vote on it in a democratic fashion to say how much we're going to pay out on a claim, what is an actual claim and not a frivolous claim. All that can be decided, and once again, we can create our own decentralized insurance policies, ranging from anything, once again, from malpractice to life insurance, so on and so forth. Now, decentralized options and derivative trading is just like the options trading and derivative trading that takes place on various markets. Centralized markets now can be done in a decentralized fashion. And in fact, when we're talking about derivatives, I'm not sure if you guys know who Larry Fink is, but he's the CEO of BlackRock, which is the largest financial institution based on assets under management. What Larry Fink wants to do is tokenize. He says tokenize everything. But one thing that they are working on in the near term is tokenizing stocks so that the stock exchange can actually operate in a 24/7 fashion. So if you tokenize Apple stock, Tesla stock, Amazon stock, you can engage in aftermarket trading. You can engage in trading on the weekend, which is essentially aftermarket trading. So that's what they want. The problem with this, right, is we're starting to see what Wall Street wants to do is, and it's not just Wall Street, it's big tech. So to really take a step back, we're seeing this convergence of big tech, big government, and Wall Street converging because money is becoming more digital. And I'll get into this a little bit later, but data is becoming money, essentially, right? So, we're using these digital payment processors, we're exchanging digital money in the way of, digital dollars or cryptocurrencies. So everybody sees that. And they're trying to make an end run on that and create essentially an easy button for DeFi and an easy button as we move into Web3 as well, which we're heavily in the process of. And the more that we get left behind, the more we continue to be consumers in Web3 when we have an ability to actually become producers and owners. So that might be a different talk for a different day, but I appreciate you guys sticking with me here, and I'm going to keep going. So as I mentioned earlier, Larry Fink wants to tokenize everything. What does he mean by that? He doesn't want to just tokenize stocks to allow for 24/7 trading of the stock market. He also wants to tokenize assets like homes, land, property, intellectual property. So this will allow for fractional ownership. And really the portion of that, what Wall Street wants in that is they want to get these microtransactions. They want to still have their hand in those microtransactions. And instead of those microtransactions going to you as an owner of these assets, they want to be able to have their hand in it. And once again, with Web3, we have the ability to say, no, we want to own this, right? And we have the ability to own it too, in a decentralized manner, which is also important. So, once again, decentralized or tokenization of real world assets can mean anything. You can tokenize your car. You can tokenize the note on your car, and 5 different people can own your car loan. It can get really interesting and almost a little dystopian at the same time. So I already mentioned the tokenization of real estate. Like, you can have maybe 20 owners of a property like this that gets listed on Airbnb. Those 20 owners can live in this property various parts throughout the year and enjoy it together, and also let other people enjoy it as well. So that's where things are heading as well. And now this one's for Kenzie. She's moving into the science field. Decentralized science is going to be the next wave of really science funding. We also saw a couple weeks ago this administration wants to get rid of NIH funding. So how is science going to get funded? It's going to have to be decentralized. And we also know that when it comes to, the Black community has some peculiarities and particularities in how certain diseases manifest itself. We also have issues when it comes to environmental racism and medical apartheid, where decentralized finance or decentralized science can help us fund the sort of research that is going to help our health outcomes. So that's something to keep an eye on. All right, so I've been teasing this whole 5-step plan for you guys to begin accumulating crypto this whole time, and now we're going to get into this and what it means. So let's start with step 1, right? If today you don't have any exposure to digital assets or cryptocurrencies, where do you start? Because most likely there is, and Kevon spoke to this earlier, there's a very difficult learning curve that's associated with understanding crypto and blockchain. It's going to take you some time. It's not an overnight thing, and that's fine. But you say, hey, you know what? I have some money that I want to invest in Bitcoin. I just don't know how. you can start on Monday by getting a piece of a Bitcoin or other crypto related exchange traded fund or ETF. So there was a big, announcement several months ago about the approval of a Bitcoin ETF. There is also a Ethereum ETF that is available as well. And I think they said that there has been a filing for Binance BNB ETF that's on its way too. So by getting exposure to the crypto ETFs, this will allow you to diversify into crypto. That is a short-term plan, so keep that in mind. So like I said, you want to get started on Monday, buy a Bitcoin ETF, buy a crypto ETF. And while you're investing, doing your dollar cost averaging or whatever your intervals are, find a wallet that will allow you to store that Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. There's a lot of different wallets out there. Find the wallet that you feel most comfortable with and you feel is the most user friendly, and then begin doing test transactions. Once you're comfortable with your wallet, how it works, you're not getting locked out of your wallet, the next thing you want to make sure you're able to do is secure your network. Never use public or open Wi-Fi when it comes to accessing or handling crypto. You never know who's monitoring those networks, right? So your home network, you want to make your home network as secure as possible. There's also things that you can do like creating an air gap. If you're really going to do a lot of financial transactions and crypto transactions, you guys need help with that, I can talk to you separately offline around that. But you want to make sure that you do have a secure network when doing anything crypto related, right? So you don't want to go to the public library. You don't want to go to Starbucks or even a hotel or use airport Wi-Fi just to check your balances or to make a quick trade. Don't do that. Wait till you get to a secure area with a secure network to do that. I know sometimes people travel and they want to make a move with crypto. There's a way to also make sure that the networks that you use when you travel are secure. Happy to help you with that. But just to continue to move in a high level fashion here. Now that you have a wallet, now that you have a secure network, you want to transfer those funds off of those centralized exchanges. And you may say, well, hey, I bought all these Bitcoin ETFs. Why don't I just leave them there? No, we want to move to a place to where you become the bank, right? You operate in a non-custodial fashion, because that way you have more freedom in those funds to say how they're used and how they're held. And so from there, once you move those funds onto your wallet and you've migrated to your wallet, you want to have long-term funds go into what's called a hardware wallet. So you have these what's called hot wallets that are always connected to the internet. And as long as your wallet is connected to the internet, it's vulnerable to hackers who can either exploit, a non-secure network, or, through phishing or other uses of malware. Your crypto is susceptible. And if you buy a hardware wallet, it allows you to accumulate that long-term crypto that you're not going to touch. And the wallet is on the actual device itself. And so once again, a hardware wallet is a physical device that allows you to store crypto offline. Just like you do your research on what wallets are going to work best for you in the interim, you want to find a hardware wallet to have that cold storage. And now that's where, once again, you put your long-term funds. like working capital, you'll use your other wallet so that you can go to centralized exchanges, make trades when necessary, and then withdraw to that hot wallet as an intermediary, and then send your long-term savings to a hardware wallet. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we're operating in Web3. We're transitioning into Web3, the third version of the internet, which is a more spatial web. And we're also operating in what's called an attention economy. So everything is trying to get your attention. So let me just actually step back. I'm talking about Web3. Let's go back to Web, we'll say Web 1, the introduction of the internet. Web 1 was basic internet messaging, email, and websites, basic websites.
Come on, let's go. Make a decision. What are you going to do?
I'm going to, happy to answer questions, but I'm going to keep going here. Also, Web 2 was the advent of social media, and now we're seeing what social media did, right? It allows us to watch all these videos. It also allows us to make connections and for people to see our connections, right? But as that internet has captured our attention, our data is being captured and sold to data brokers. What Web3 will allow us to do is use blockchain technology as essentially a gate, right? It's a cryptographically protected gate for our data. And we want to, once again, move away from those corporate and centralized data providers into us creating our own data, storing our own data in a more sovereign manner, and allow those outside entities to pay us for the data that we create and the data that we store. So I think most of us understand this concept that our data is going to be monetized. It's already being monetized right now. We're just not getting paid for it. So Web3 is going to allow us to monetize our data and actually profit from it. But we need to have the wherewithal now to, once again, leverage Web3 to put up that gate, put up that fence, put up that locked door to say, hey, if you want to come through this door and access my data, you're going to pay me to do it. So that was a lot. And, hopefully that 5-step plan has helped you. Sorry about that. And if you want more guidance in terms of how to have a plan and operate in decentralized finance, I recently wrote and released an action planner, which is essentially a workbook that tells you how to get a wallet, how to store and secure your private keys, how to move within decentralized finance safely and effectively, and get the exposure into DeFi and help you in the near term. Also, if you want to get more into the underlying technology and some of the political theories behind why DeFi is important, you can find my original book in its second edition at DeFiforthediaspora.com. All right. Well, thanks so much, guys. That was a lot. It was a lot all at once, and I appreciate you sticking around. And Dee says the action planner is an amazing resource. So is the book. Thank you, Dee. Dee, if you want to come off mute and give people an audio testimony with how you've been using the action planner so far.
Sure. Thank you so much for this session today. I just got the book and the action planner just a couple of days ago, and with my work schedule, I haven't really gotten into it, into the depths of it, but I have been going through it page by page, and just the information that is contained therein in the book and in the action planner. And the action planner is helping you to kind of go through and really get yourself thinking logically about things, it's going to definitely open my eyes of my understanding, open the eyes of my understanding better, because, you know, like you said, this is a lot. It's a lot, this landscape. But I think that that resource is going to be so valuable for individuals that are looking to really, really get an understanding of how to understand this particular space.
Yeah, and I also wrote the action planner because so many people wrote the book or read my book and are like, well, what do I do next? And I was like, I got to write another book. That's what I need to do next so that this question doesn't come around when people read uh, the first book. So, you know, hopefully I've answered that question. And now, honestly, it's time for me to continue to go to work on real world applications of Web3 blockchain so that people, it's not this thing of, you know, I'm sitting at my laptop tapping and clicking all this stuff to get rich. If Wall Street wants to tokenize real world assets, that means we can tokenize real world assets too and create shared value amongst ourselves. So when people say, well, you know, some people agree with the concept of reparations, some people don't, which is fine. But this whole rhetorical question of, well, what would we do with reparations if we got the money? Well, I know what to do. I just told you what to do. So anyone who asks that stupid question, tell them to read my book. Any other questions for anybody out there? Happy to answer a few more before I need to hop off here.
The only other thing I wanted to ask is, you're still open for scheduling consultations with you to, you know, kind
Yes,
of
I
look at some
am.
things? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, happy to look out for anybody here who comes through the Junior Wall Streeters. Happy to do, you know, one-on-one consulting because everybody's situation's different. I think that 5-step plan is a very general plan. If you're like, okay, hey, I've been hearing about this crypto stuff for years now. I just never knew how to get started. Get started by picking up an ETF. You'll get exposure to crypto once again. And what you're seeing the rest of the stock market, you know, take this temporary, I hope temporary hit through tariffs, and crypto is doing okay. It's somewhat stabilizing, right? So get that exposure through ETFs while you figure out the technical side, because essentially you become your own bank. All those risks shift to you. And I know that it turns a lot of people off or it may scare a lot of people, but I go through all the risk factors in my book that you need to be aware of and how to mitigate those risks. And so I see a question here from Kenzie with a hard wallet. When you transfer money, do you plug it in like a USB or is it wireless? Also, this might seem weird, but I assume a cellular hotspot would not be sufficient for crypto transfers. Okay, so these are actually two really good questions. So different hardware wallets operate differently. There are some that you do plug in a USB and you will connect your hardware wallet. There's other hardware wallets that actually do use essentially like a QR code system or near field communication or Bluetooth and operate wirelessly. So just like other wallets, you want to find the hardware wallet that you feel is going to be the most comfortable for you to use and the most user-friendly for you to use. Getting to your cellular hotspot question. Now, this is actually good. So if you are traveling, you're going to want to use your cellular hotspot as opposed to public Wi-Fi. Why do I say that? Now, cellular networks and the data on cellular networks have a high level of security. And I mean, it's possible to hack a cellular network, but like I said, corporations like AT&T and Verizon have a high level of trust due to their ability of keeping data secure. And now, if I had a choice between what I felt was more secure public Wi-Fi or a cellular network, I'm going to use the cellular network, right? Because AT&T and Verizon's reputations are on the line when it comes to keeping their customers' data secure. So the onus and the liability to a certain extent is on them. So to what extent can you go back and try and sue them? I don't know. But like I said, they do operate with high levels of security through the cellular network. So that would be my choice. And that's what I've used a lot of times. I take a cellular Wi-Fi hotspot to my hotel, or I use it in an airport as opposed to public Wi-Fi. So hopefully that helps. And I'll take one more question if we have one.
Yeah, before you go, Kamal, I just wanted to thank you again for your generosity and your time. And also our glitch in the beginning. You know, I guess things happen for a reason. With the code, I wasn't thinking about this when I was trying to get people to log in. But I had so many foul messages on our flyers. I was going to ask you about that. Like, just really, like really like attacking the flyers that we had out. And the question was, you know, and I don't know if it was because the question was, can cryptocurrency address the racial wealth gap? So the code, those people that I don't know if those people were even registered, but when we did this a few years ago, we had somebody log on doing and had pornographic videos and stuff like that. But and I'm glad my auntie is here, you know, because the first crypto person we had someone was using clips speaking about cryptocurrency and was using foul language. I was like, oh my, I could just think about my auntie's like, you know, in her 70s listening to this. I'm like, but so this code thing I'm thinking may have been a good idea, but we are going to share it with everyone. Thank you, because we did have 50 people register. And I thank you. Not only that, you're really passionate about this and passionate about helping our community. I really appreciated it. Ladies, this Kamal has even donated cryptocurrency to some of our kids. So, he's really committed, and I really want to thank you for that, Kamal. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we can support him, support his book. Just before you leave, I did have a question, and I just wanted to say this. Now, I know Kamal said a lot, right? But this is just only an introduction. So this is just just to introduce us, right? And what we can possibly do with this, and we can have. I got to log off as well to go. Kamal had an accident. Is playing baseball. He got injured, but right. So my first intro to cryptocurrency, and Michelle and I had the same thing, right? We were in a meeting similar to this 3 years ago, doing the Junior Wall Street meeting, trying to introduce the parents to cryptocurrency, right? The guest speaker was like, you know what? Everybody pull out their phones. Let's go to Cash App. Buy cryptocurrency on Cash App. Everybody take $50 in Cash App. So we all did. I bought $50 in Bitcoin on Cash App. And, I was checking it weekly like I normally do. And then it had dropped down significantly. So I just stopped checking it. So then last November or so, Michelle was like, hey, have you checked your cryptocurrency lately? I was like, no, I haven't. I looked at it and I gained $30. I was like, whoa, what was up? Now I'm thinking like, it should have been more than $50. So I was like, okay, all right, no problem. So I'm still learning. But one of the things we can do, like there are different type of organizations, right? I know there's a Chicago group where people get together once a month to discuss cryptocurrency. A gentleman is leading that. But there's something before Kamal leaves. Like one of the things we can consider doing is all of us like buying his book, right? And then reading it together, like coming together, reading it, and then having a discussion. Ask Kamal, can he come back and explain the terms? Because as he said, this is not going away. And just sort of like try to learn together as a group. Ms. G, can you put the title of Kamal's book out? We're going to have the raffle. We're going to raffle away some of the books so people get the chance to get the book free. Please, and want to encourage you to make a donation. Those ads were not cheap to run to even get us here for this presentation to just inform us. But Kamal, I do have a question, an applicable question for you before you leave. So we have an investment club, right? And we have our bylaws already, right? So I read the book and I heard, and I just want to make sure I understand if you could explain it. And one of the things you said is it with the smart contracts, because the bylaws, right, with our investment club, the bylaws would become smart contracts. And you said that with the smart contracts, you can, I don't want to quote you directly because I don't have it here, but you mentioned about the human greed, like the smart contracts can sort of deal with the human greed. So how would that be applied to, let's say, like our investment club? It's like if a member, let's say, because we have rules, other than greed, like if let's say they did not come to the meetings, normally I would go to the bylaws and say, hey, you missed 3 meetings, you're going to be voted out. How would that be differently handled? Because I know in the book you said, like in a smart contract, you can write the code and the code would handle something like that. Because how would that be handled just in a practical sense with a smart contract in an investment club situation that has bylaws, all of this stuff already that makes up the investment club?
Well, I think something worth looking into is a decentralized autonomous organization.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've introduced you to Jesse. He's working on a project called Personal DAO, which is Personal Decentralized Autonomous Organizations. And I think that fits perfectly with the model of DeFi for the diaspora. We should look into DAOs because all of the governance, like you said, like bylaws, like operating agreements, like profit taking and profit sharing, all that gets done in a democratic fashion where everything goes up to a vote. Like,
Okay.
hey, this person hasn't been investing, they haven't been participating, we're going to expel them from the group, and it goes up to a vote.
Right.
And then the smart contract will immediately release them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all that stuff gets voted on. Really sorry, guys, but I got to get going here. Thanks again for everybody. And if you want to find me, you can at putting my email in here.
And do they order the book directly from you?
No, it goes through my website.
Okay.
If anyone has any problems, just let me know. Here's my email. So thank you again, everyone, for showing up and sticking around. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions about a consultation, questions about a book, or getting a book. I'd be happy to help.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks again for having me. Take care.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Ms. D, I'm gonna leave it to you for the game.
You gonna leave it for me?
Yeah, for the Cougs game.
Okay. All right. So for those of you who were able to stay are able, we're just going to have a little fun. Again, we want to thank you guys for your attention, for working through with our technical challenges. And as Mr. Chisholm has shared, it might have just been ordained for the people who were here to be here today. And we're grateful for that. So we're going to have a little fun. If you have a phone, you can use your phone, your mobile device, you can use your computer. And we're going to go to, oh, and I was going to just show you, this is Mr. Kamal's website right here, where you can find his book and support his cause with, I think he has other things that you can go to it, and I put it in the website. This is where you can find to support his cause. Also, you can also donate or support our cause at juniorwallstreeter.org. This is where you're going to find our mission statement. You'll find a donation link right here in the corner that allow you to donate. So we can continue to have these platforms to be able to educate our own communities into being able to have financial wealth, and not just in one area, but different areas. As they have shared, we are already investing. It's just, are you going to be a part of your investment plan? If you are, if you're going to if you're going to retire or, you know, you're working anywhere, you are already investing. So you can be more active in your investing if you know the information, and that is our purpose, is to inform and to educate you to make better financial decisions, not just for now, but for your future, that you and your families may be able to generate some type of financial wealth. All right. I'm still trying to figure this out. Give me 1 second, Kevon. And our guest today. Oh, it went out. That's why I can't find it. I gotta go back in. Put my glasses on. Okay, here we go. So if you're not familiar with this platform, you can take this QR code. Actually, I'm going to put it in the chat for you now, and that will help you just to log in with the gaming code. This is one of the platforms we use during our summer camp, just to reinforce the information that the students are learning. The students really love the engagement. Of course, they love to compete. So this just reinforces again what was discussed today, and just see how much information that we are retaining, right? And it allows me as an instructor to go back through and to maybe reteach, reevaluate, add, or take away from my lessons, so that I can ensure that everyone is leaving with the information that they need to be successful. Do I have any other people who want to play? I got 2 players in. Am I waiting? Please let me know if you're trying to join or you're just going to watch the participation, okay? Okay, we got some players here. 4 players on the board. Again, please just type in the chat if you need me to wait, or you can unmute yourself and say, hey, Miss G, can you give us a few more minutes? We're logging in. All right. 5 contestants on the board. 5 contestants on the board. Miss Stevens, does that mean you want me to wait, or you're good to go?
Well, my phone is shaking. I'm trying to get the link, but it keeps shaking.
Okay, we'll be patient. We'll give you a few more minutes because I know how competitive you are, sir. I know you want to get in on this action. I see we got some of our students in here. What about some of our adults? There he is. There's Brinson. So Brinson and Bryson are some of our good alumni that have been a part of Junior Wall Streeters, and they're young investors and young entrepreneurs. They've written a book as well. So they're authors, and their mom, Miss Stevens, is doing an excellent job of guiding them into future success, as some of the others of you are doing as well. All right, so I think I have my 6 contestants on the board, and we're going to start. There's 6 questions, 5 questions, 1 bonus question. And here we are. We're ready to begin. Question number 1 is, what is an ETF? Right, he shared about ETFs. Is it an exchange trust fund or is it exchange traded fund? What is an ETF? All right, we have all the contestants on the board with this one. All right. So we're going to go to our next question. So guys, an ETF is where we pool our money together with other investors. So if you don't have a lot of money, it's like having an investment team, right? Instead of being like a stock, where a stock is only one share in a company, you get to be a shareholder of 10 or more different companies, and you own 1/10 of that company with others. So we got Kenzie in the lead. Kenzie is the OG of Junior Wall Streeters. Let's go. All right, question number 2. Are Cash App and Robinhood custodial or non-custodial exchanges for cryptocurrency? An exchange is where we go to purchase our whatever security you're going to be investing in. So if you're investing on the stock market, you're going to go to the NYSE, New York Stock Exchange, Dow 30, S&P 500. But as he shared with you, if you are investing in cryptocurrency, you're going to go to the blockchain. That is their exchange market where you're going to purchase whatever cryptocurrencies that you want to invest in. So we have Brenton in the lead now. All right, let's go. Question number 3. A financial analyst recently predicted that Bitcoin should be on 25% of the S&P 500's firms. In what year? What year are they predicting this? Their firm's balance sheet by 1 year. What year? I'm sorry. Oh, you guys were good listeners. It is by 2030. Let's go. Okay, we got some good listeners on here today. Bryson is taking the lead. He is on the street with 3 in a row. Let's go. All right, public places like Wi-Fi like libraries, coffee shops, and hotels are a good place to trade for cryptocurrency. Is this true or false? That is correct. Great job, everyone. That is false. You want to protect your information from hackers, right? So you want to have a private code to make sure that your code is secure. All right, Bryson is still in the lead, but Kenzie is on his tail with second up. Let's go. And Bryson has now 4 in a row. All right, what is a hardware wallet? Is it a physical device used to store your crypto offline, or is it a physical device used to store crypto online? Oh, we had a split decision here. I like to see this, but the person that chose a physical device used to store offline, clap it up for yourself. All right, that is the correct answer. So now we have Bryson and Brinson, Kenzie Parker, and Brandon. Here's our bonus question. Our bonus question and the last question of this session today is, what document should you read before purchasing any cryptocurrency? Was it called white notes or white paper? Oh, yes, it is. It was called white paper. So let's see, who do we have as our 3rd place winner up right now? Didn't come up. Where's my podium? Oh, here it comes. I hear it, but I don't see it. It should show us our I don't see it, but it is showing us. Okay, let me go back here for a minute to see who our 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place winners are, because it didn't come up on my podium. So let me hit escape here. Well, guys, give me a minute. My screen is frozen, but I believe the 1st place winner is Bryson, but I'm not sure who second and third place winner is because it's frozen right now, but I'll tell you shortly. Okay. I do want to let you know, and I want to invite everyone that we are having another session because this month is Financial Literacy Month, and we're going to be having another session coming up on April 26th, and this one is called On the Road to Financial Freedom, and we're going to have Mr. Kendall Bryant with us on April 26th. So mark your calendars, and it's going to be at 1 p.m. For our next session. Now let's see. I got to go back in, guys, and see who our winners are because I know you're anxious to know. Give me a second here, and I'm going to get that information for you. Nope, it's starting the game. I don't want to restart the game. I want to see my winners from the game. So let me go to my reports. All right, so from my data, we have first, second, and third place is Bryson, Brenston, and Kenzie. Clap it up for them. Those are my first, second, and third place winners. Thank you guys for participating. Mr. Chisholm has some other giveaways for you guys. So thank you guys for playing today. And these are all our Junior Wall Street alumni. So you can see that when you're donating into our cause, that the students are actually learning and retaining the information. And not only they're retaining it, but a lot of them are actually applying the information right now that they're learning or that they have learned, and they continue to come back and visit us for our alumni meetings, which are every first Friday night of the month from January through June. Actually, and then September through December, because during the summer sessions, we don't have the alumni meetings, which is June through August. Thank you again for taking the time and the opportunity to come out and share with us on this and increase your knowledge about financial wealth in the cryptocurrency arena.
Thanks so much, Miss G.
You're welcome. Okay, I think that's it for us, guys, because Mr. Chisholm has left and he's going to attend to his son. Again, thank you guys for coming out and continue to join us and support us on April 26th for Financial Literacy Month. Have a great day on purpose.
Miss G,
Thank you.
do you know when is Kamari graduation?
I don't, but I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'll keep you informed and keep you posted.
Okay.
Okay, you're welcome. No problem.
Okay. Y'all have a great weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
Good luck on your last quarter, Kenzie, and enjoy your summer. Are you going to be interning this summer? Are you looking for an internship for your major?
I'm actually looking for a job.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Something is in the works in Texas, so.
Awesome. So, wow, look at you being a world traveler. You done left North Carolina. Now you're somewhere. Now you get ready to go somewhere else. I love this for you. So which part of Texas, which city are you thinking about moving to?
It's in Houston, so it'd be close to my parents.
Awesome. 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 Well, I will send blessings your way and good energy to open up a door for the desire of your heart. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Any other questions or concerns before I close us out? All right. Again, thank you everyone for attending. Have an amazing day on purpose.